All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have race number 2 of the playoffs here tonight at Auto Club Speedway for the Gen 4 Cup Series tonight with the Area 51 Racing League. So I hope you all are having a wonderful Thursday evening. Happy Friday Eve to all. And I'll say right now, you're looking at the weather here at the track, and man, I kind of wish this was real life weather because it is warm where I am. But as you can see right now, 77 degrees ambient, showing 103 degrees track temperature. I think it's actually, from what I'm seeing, it might be around 80-degree track temperature. But either way, though, it's sunset right now. It's a really actually kind of cool looking skies and everything. So, however, the big thing tonight is going to be playoffs. And so let's say further results after last week's race. Sebastian Marin with the win, getting the points lead going after race number 1. Unfortunately, I will not be in this race tonight, so I will be dropping down the standings. However, right behind, in third place, Ryan Kelly, Kevin Freeze right there, Carl Henderson in that top 5 spot. We got James Ledford tied for that 5th spot as well. Brendan Bernhardt, I don't believe here this evening either. Then Josh Laston, Gabe Butler, Eric Laurie, the remainder of the top 10 that did run last week. So I'll say again, we'll have to see how it is. A smaller field again, once again this evening. I think about 10-ish cars or so. Haven't seen everybody put their laps as of yet. But yeah, so say slightly smaller field. So I think it's going to allow the field to kind of spread out, get a little bit where they can kind of just race the racetrack, because talking to the drivers in practice, it was pretty much all smiles from the guys saying you can run the top, you can run the bottom. It's really just kind of where you want to position the car, and that's, as a driver, that's really what you want to have, is you want to be able to position that car where you want it to be, and it just makes it all that more enjoyable versus feeling like you just have to run a specific line and that's the only place you could run it. So we'll see how it shakes out. Obviously, bonus points coming into play tonight as well for highest climber, pole position also coming in, incident-free race. So obviously bonus points will be a big part of tonight's race, as well as, of course, the overall points after the final 4 playoff races. Like I said, tonight will be race number 2 of the 4, with Sebastian Marin taking the first hit there at Las Vegas, getting the win last week. So 90 laps here tonight. Fuel mileage is right in the mid-30s. I was hearing about 33 roughly laps. Maybe might be able to stretch it to 35 or so. But based on that, should we go green, that tells me probably a 2-stop race on fuel. Expect to see drivers in around that lap 30 and lap 60 mark. Maybe not as much opening for strategies on the pit stop as we saw last week at Las Vegas. Some drivers going for the 2-stop strategy. A couple of drivers went ahead and tried to pull the 1-stop strategy. So there will be probably a little less opportunity for that, but we'll have to wait and see as the race gets underway here in just about 20 more seconds. Qualifying just about completed. And then once that is done, we will go ahead and pull up our starting grid for tonight's event. And I think I heard somebody sneaking in here, and is a very talented partner in crime with Chris Matthews. So, Chris, I know you're still getting settled in as you're rolling in from work, probably still in your uniform. So we'll let you get all squared away here as we're going to pull up our starting grid for tonight's event, as it will be Sebastian Marin on the pole position over over Ryan Kelly, apologies, by 23 thousandths of a second. Kevin Freeze there, 3rd. Carl Henderson, a good 4th spot, right with his teammate there, Josh Lasson, in 5th. Donald Sadusky going to roll off 6th. Richard Burney is 7th. Gabe Butler in 8th. First of those not to put down a qualifying lap. Then you got Austin Call, James Ledford rounding out our top 10. Eric Laurie, Bud Steele, 11th and 12th. And then we'll roll down a little further with Bob Fitzgerald and Joseph DeCiro, 13th and 14th. So we'll have to double check to see how many take the grid here officially tonight. But it looks like 14 cars were here in practice. Now it's just kind of a question of whether or not they all do take the grid or not, which right now I'm showing about 12. It looks like solid. So I think we will have at least 12 drivers taking the field here tonight. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Like I said, selfishly, you always want to kind of be on the track with these guys, but it's been a while since I've been in the booth. I won't lie, it's saying I don't miss it, because it's always fun to do, especially when you get to hang out with your buddies like Chris. And then you see on the ticker there that green highlight, those are the drivers in the playoffs. And pretty much the guys that are here, most of them are in the playoffs. And so I actually need to give an extra kind of commendment and shout out to Donald Sadusky, Richard Bernius. There are some of these guys that are not in the playoffs but are here to race tonight. Bud Steele as well. So definitely want to appreciate those guys for coming out. And actually, we might. Where's Sebastian? There he is. He's just a little slow rolling off the grid. But yeah, so they definitely want to applaud those drivers for coming out tonight and just have some fun, hopefully, this evening.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where if you're not in the fight for a championship, sometimes you just a lot of people end up quitting the league and things like that. But we gotta get these drivers effort. A lot of the people in the series, may or may not be up there fighting for a championship, but still fun, and we always love to have as many people as possible race with us.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's just one of those. I mean, there's obviously there's that certain point where it's like, okay, that's about the most you want to have, but usually the more the merrier in general, especially when you get the racing like you have with these guys here. They know each other week in, week out. It's like if we can kind of have like two sets of all these drivers, it almost make it that much more fun to do. But it's going to be fun. I mean, we have obviously the top three here, I think are, to me, have been pretty much the championship contenders from day one for those that have been able to make all the races this season. I mean, Ryan Kelly, he's kind of Mr. Long Run. We know Sebastian, he's stupid talented. And same thing with Kevin Freeze. Like those guys are kind of that level above. And then you got some of the guys that on a good night, they might be right there with him, like Carl Henderson, Josh Lassen, and company. And I'm going to watch Austin Call. I think he hasn't shown his true colors yet for his speed. As we go green here, Sebastian Marin going to lead the field to the green flag. Get underway here tonight. Chris, 90 laps here in store for us at Auto Club. May or may not have supposed to have been 80, but there's a certain admin/broadcaster who may have put the wrong number in there. So we get 10 more extra laps here tonight at Auto Club.
Hey, 10 more extra laps might change the whole fuel game for these guys here. I know these Gen 4s are going to be very, very fast around this track, but because this track is pretty wide, they're going to see a bunch of different lines. So it's going to be interesting either way as these guys are heading into turn 3.
Yeah, and right off the bat, you see Ryan and Kevin kind of just trying to stay right on here. And right now, it looks like everybody wants to hold that bottom lane here. I was curious to see what was going to be the lane of choice, and right now, it looks like the bottom line is the preferred line to kick things off. But yeah, watching practice, and you're exactly right, Chris. There's drivers running the bottom, the middle, the absolute wall. It's just really a preference here, and I think clean air will play a bit of a role in this as well. You probably want to run a little bit where they're not. But right now, though, I watched Kevin there. They all ran the same line, but their entry was all very different. Kevin took a much later arc entering turn 1, whereas I feel like Ryan kind of had a more shallow. You see right there, too, a little shallower entry there into 3. So we'll have to see which way it maybe pays a little bit more dividends here. But Carl Henderson, though, he's kind of hanging right on with these guys here, just kind of staying right in tow, trying to keep an eye on those guys and trying to keep himself in this mix.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's going to be a big thing tonight. You're going to see a couple packs here, but I think if people decide to sit right behind each other and just try to kind of string each other out there, I think that's what the real strategy is here. You don't want to have 8 people battling for one spot. You want to kind of just leave it between you and maybe one other person.
Yeah, right now you see Kevin able to get around Ryan Kelly off of 2 through the back into turn number 3. And yeah, Carl, actually last time by, Carl Henderson was that quickest car on track here. But this is one of that balance where you want to have speed, but you also got to make sure you manage those tires where it's really easy just to get a little too greedy too soon. And I mean, I've been guilty of it myself where you just push maybe a little too hard to get up to those guys, and then you start to fall off midway through where maybe they were able to manage that right front a little better. So I want to keep an eye and see how the momentum shifts because, again, we talked about how fast these guys are and kind of how consistent they are. As last time by, actually, it winds up being Kevin Freeze now who puts the fastest lap down. Actually, just 1/100th of a second quicker than Carl that previous lap. So, and it looks like he's set his sights on trying to put some pressure on Sebastian Marin right off the bat.
Yeah, definitely going to see where he's better and worse at on this track. A lot of different lines like we've already talked about, but you'll see right now that he's going to pretty much just be directly behind them, maybe a little bit offset in the turns, but you see Kevin Freeze just inching his way ever closer as he's trying to set him up for this pass.
Yeah, and I say won't focus on them the whole time because we have a couple of good little fights going on here just behind Eric Laurie, Gabe Butler, Richard Bernius are all right there together. And then right now, this has been what I've been kind of keeping an eye on is Austin Call, Bud Steele's right there, Donald Sadusky, James Ledford. I would say they are right in that top 10 window. And again, I feel like the 64 is going to be one to keep an eye on. But man, right there, you talked about the different lines, and there you go. Bud's going all the way to, almost to the very, very top there, one seam below it. But you can see, and that's, I think, one thing to mention too, Chris, is the seams here at Auto Club. It's very distinct lines, basically, where you can see it's a 5-lane racetrack here at Auto Club. So realistically, you basically can almost use those lines as your lane markers. And when it's hot, you actually use those seams as where you want to kind of either straddle them or just avoid them altogether, because the seams actually really loosen the car up more than the asphalt itself. So it makes the strategy call pretty interesting on how you want to enter and take those turns.
Yeah, I know from personal experience that I always like to kind of save my tires. So I like to sit up top as long as possible, and a lot of times I do lose a lot of positions for that. But give it about 15, 20 lap run, you start chasing people back down. So if you can save your tires, which these cars definitely like to burn them off, I think that'd be a great strategy for some of these guys, especially like Bud Steele.
Yeah, and Bud is usually typically a pretty good long run driver as well. So, and I'm curious to see which lane is going to do what for the tires, just based on maybe the wear and of course kind of how you drive it. Because the way you drive these cars, you can burn the right front, you can burn the right rear. It just really depends on how hard you're entering the turns, how hard on the throttle you are on exit of the turns. There's a lot of options there, but I mean these two, I mean they've been going pretty much side by side for the past kind of 2-3 laps. You saw right there, just about got the wall off before, is able to keep it off, I believe, but right into the path. Donald Sadusky had to make some quick reaction there. And it looks like now he's going to battle for that spot with that 10 machine, and you can see Donald's going to send it pretty deep there into one, and I think he will clear, but not for lack of effort out of that 10. And he actually might try to get a 2 for 1 here as he actually jumps to the outside as well of Austin Call.
Yeah, that was really, really smart move by him. I think we've seen Joey Logano do that once or twice in his career when he was passing Kevin Harvick, I believe. I forgot who's on the other car, but I remember I think Joey Logano was one of the guys that used to do that. But yeah, you see Don Sadusky all the way on the outside. He's going to have the momentum coming to the outside, so there might be a little bit of side drafting here coming to the line. But looks like Don Sadusky is definitely getting ready to make the move here.
Yeah, so I wonder, you talked about saving tires initially, maybe he kind of backed it down those first 5 or so laps, and now he's starting to pick the pace back up, because he did drop a few spots from his starting spot. Right now showing -3. Our highest climbers thus far is that 071 of Eric Laurie. He is up 4 spots from where he started here tonight, into that 7th position. So started in 11th up to 7th. So a good start for Eric as well. Saying that's the other thing too, is some of these guys, they're just here to have fun. I mean, Eric Laurie, Gabe Butler right in front of him. Like those are like the perennial guys you watch week in, week out in the Super Speedway series on Sunday nights. Pretty much expect them to be in the running for the top 5, top 10, if not the win. And so they're kind of stretching out their resume, kind of get more comfortable with some different types of cars. And I've talked to them before, and they just like, yeah, we just want to race. We like to have fun, and I always really, really enjoy that from those guys that do a little bit of everything. So yeah, definitely appreciate them. But we're gonna peek back up front because Sebastian has not been able to shake Kevin as of yet. It's about a 0.2 of a second gap between the two of them. They have separated by about a second off of Ryan Kelly there in 3rd. And then about another second to Carl Henderson, and half a second to Josh Lassen there to round out our top 5. But from racing with Ryan the past handful of seasons with the next gens, with the Xfinity cars, Ryan is a very good long run driver where these guys might sneak away from him for the first maybe 10, 15 laps or so. But then it's usually that second half of the run, or even the last third of the run, where Ryan really kind of feels like he hits his own gear. I saw it at Atlanta when I was in that race and watching Ryan, and I started kind of seeing their intervals. Oh, Kevin Bigloose there off of 4 trying to get on the throttle. But Ryan he can take care of his tires better than anyone I've been a part of racing with, and that's when he really starts to shine, is that latter half. So that's the car I want to see here late in the run is going to be that 13, to see what he can do in relation to that 23 and 25.
Yeah, it's very crazy to see, when you're driving and you see somebody just being able to just kind of walk away from you or chase you down, just knowing that your tires aren't as good as theirs, and a lot of times it's just frustrating to know that you might have burned your stuff off a little too early. So I can kind of sympathize with some people here in this race right now. But looking at the times right now, the top 3 are about almost a second, maybe half a second quicker than everyone else in the rest of the field. So I think these guys want to kind of stay together and see if they can gap them, and that would open up their pit strategies here.
Yeah, and right now, as you saw the 64-19, they just all got around that 73 of Richard Bernius. So I was looking at the right front of that car, and it's definitely got some damage to the right front corner. See if we can get a better angle over there. And yeah, you can see it right there. A pretty decent scuff on that right front. So I believe probably got into the wall coming out of 2 or 4. So you can see, and that's what the arrow means in these cars, is that car just does not have the top end anymore like the other guys do. And so that's why you can see he's just kind of falling off the pace. And it might even be a choice where it's like, okay, well, we're just under halfway into the fuel run. Do I think about maybe getting that fast repair? And it looks like he is going to either take some service, or we'll see, hopefully not early retirement, but he is going to hop onto pit road here on lap number 14. But man, that fight that we were just talking about, these 4 here right around the top 10, they just can't get away from each other. Austin Call, Donald Sadusky, Bud Steele, James Ledford, they just all hooked onto each other here pretty much since the drop of the green.
Yeah, once you kind of get into that little bit of a groove and everyone kind of starts forming a pack, it's almost like a rubber band effect where you really can't get away from everybody, and everyone kind of creeps up to you. But obviously, these guys are kind of sitting in the background, 7th, 8th position, and they just keep losing the front pack. But this is almost the funner part of the track right here, where you're constantly fighting, you're just trying to be the better car right now.
Yeah, it is. You're right. So even if you're in, like I said, just on the outside of the top 10 or right there. It's fun when it doesn't matter what position you're, when you're just able to fight with people and have those battles, but knowing that you can race hard but still clean. For me, at least, it just always puts a smile on my face when you get in those situations, and that's, I think, what Austin and Donald have right now. Is they're just going after each other right now. And I can tell you that Richard is back out on track here, and that's gonna be a fun thing to watch too for Richard. Is I want to see how much of a difference and you see there's that car all nice and shiny again with that fast repair. I am curious to see what the lap times look like, because again, we're about lap 16 now of 90, so about, again, just over halfway through a fuel run roughly. And I'm looking at the lap times, they've dropped off about a second or so, Chris. Best times are in the 40-18s, 40-20s or so, and these guys are all in the mid to upper 41s roughly here now. So I think at least a second drop off here, so pretty soon Richard's going to feel good, because he's going to by far be the fastest car on track. But again, it's just a little bit off sequence, unfortunately. And we'll force another pit stop as well. He'll have to do I believe, a 3-stop strategy at this point with when he pitted. So we'll have to keep an eye on that for sure. But like I said, though, these guys they can't shake each other from. I mean, you see James starting to put a little bit of pressure on Bud Steele there in that 10, and then Austin and Donald seem like they just been kind of stuck at the hip here for about the past 5 laps now.
Yeah, and you're really, at this point, you're kind of just trying different strategies to see what is going to work, and you might be rethinking the strategies that you used to have, and might be trying to save. So, these guys are just all underneath the blanket right now, so no one's really, walking away from each other. So I would assume that they're kind of starting to think about a little bit more strategy and more pit stop openings here. So, I love the fact that Auto Club has this, and it's very rare to see that kind of in today's NASCAR with so many different grooves. But this is just a beautiful sight to me, man. 4 cars into a turn, no one's really following each other. Everyone's taking different lines, and they're all still staying really close together.
Yeah, and that's what makes. Oh, you see Bud there caught the wall there, just trying to. Oh, that's going to be a big shot there entering turn 1 there. That's going to give him a little bit of right front damage, and that was what it was right there. He was trying a different line, wanted to enter really high there to again try to get a different line than the other guys. And unfortunately, just caught the wall a little bit on entry. But no, you're exactly right. Yeah, and I will confirm. Last time by Richard Bernius there ran a 40.74, whereas Sebastian Kevin was a 41.24, 41.28, so about half a second quicker than them. And that's probably still him kind of building up the speed and temperatures and such. So so there's some strategy there, Chris, too. Obviously, both of us kind of following F1. There's that phrase of undercut. Ooh, big slide for Sebastian off of 4 or off of 2 there. I'm sorry. Overcut versus undercut. That could open up the door for Kevin Freeze, for instance. Like, hey, okay, I've lost a little bit of ground here these past few laps to Sebastian. Once we get into that pit window, you know what? I'm going to pit at, let's say, 29 instead of 30. That way I can use those fresh tires for 1 extra lap over Sebastian, and maybe I gain a second on him, and that puts him behind me, and then he has to try to find a way to get around me. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that as well. Of course, the lap times as well. But right now, and actually, I think I can pull up our lap times. Let's find that last lap here. There we go. And you'll see there's the lap times over on the ticker on the left. And you can see a 41.45 to a 55 to a 65 for the top three. So each basically a progression of a tenth of a second there, Chris. But right now, though, say the Dr. Evil of Kevin Freeze here holding on to that second spot so far pretty solidly.
Yeah, what's crazy to think about like how these guys have gapped each other. It can all kind of play right back into each other's hands right now if they decide to pit. This is kind of a weird pit lane. Obviously, we have a pretty wide track, but it's still a tricky pit road to get onto. And if you are, maybe a half a second on your braking, that could be the difference of a couple hundred meters of trying to chase somebody down. So I know the pitting is going to be very crucial to these guys right now. So you want to break as late as possible, but you could possibly end up missing the pits and go straight through the grass.
Yeah, exactly right. And it is easy to overshoot pit road, but if these guys want to get everything they can. But and then up, say the battle of the teammates here with closed circuit. Say it took about 20 laps, but Josh Lassen has found his way around Carl Henderson. And that's going to be one of those inner team battles, where kind of the bragging rights battle where Josh is basically right now they're running their own race. They're almost, I think, fully focused on each other at this point where it's just like, all right, let me get nose ahead. And I mean, I don't think we do it too much on our side, Chris, but it's always fun to have that little inner team competition rivalries. And so I think I could definitely see them with their personalities. Those two are. They get on so well with one another, actually sharing the booth on Sunday nights here on Green White Checkered TV as well for the Area 51 Xfinity Series on Sunday nights. So it's pretty cool to see these two right on par with each other. As you can see, also the lights have turned on at the racetrack there. Sun continues to drop behind the mountains. So the track should also start to cool off a little bit, Chris, which I think is only just going to make everybody a little bit happier, even though the temps aren't bad right now. The cooler the track gets, usually the grippier it gets. I think it's just to make everybody happy. But right now, though, Sebastian, kind of these last handful of laps, he's snuck away now about a second and a half to Kevin and then another 1.8 to Ryan Kelly. So he's kind of found a way to just sneak away just a little bit in this last portion of the stint here. Again, probably about, I'd say at most about 10 laps until the pit stops. Windows are about to start kicking off, but I'm going to jump one more time here back again because these guys, again, can't get away from each other. But looks like they have reeled in Eric Laurie now for that 8th position. Mentioned Eric being the highest climber, and I think if Austin can make this pass, I want to say that might move Austin to highest climber territory. And actually right now it's a 3-way tie for highest climber between Austin, Gabe Butler, and Eric Laurie, all being 2 spots gained at the moment. But yeah, right now, though, these guys all hooked to each other. But the one I'm watching of this group, Chris, is this 84 James Ledford. He was just kind of cruising in the back of that group that whole time. I think he saved his stuff because he's actually started to come on these last couple laps, and he's starting to make the passes to move up in this pack. As you also see Richard Bernius there in that number 73 with those fresher tires. Also, he's already made his way back up into that pack as well. But, man, these guys are starting to kick the backs out off of turn number 4. And just, again, for me as a driver, that just puts a smile on my face because it's fun seeing these things have enough power that you can actually do that.
Yeah, definitely. And we were talking about, a little bit of daylight versus nighttime driving. I think that worked in James Ledford's, favor. He wasn't sitting there battling and, wearing his tires out. And he's actually starting to show a little bit more speed now. The track's calmed down. And, we talk about the kind of shades that we have, going on with the race where we had the sunlight beaming right around turn 1 to turn 4. And, now these guys are having a little bit more grip. Now the sun is down. You can see a lot more passing. These guys are starting to get a little bit more aggressive and, how they're trying to race each other as we see Austin Call just getting hounded right now as we go across the start-finish line.
Yeah, so Donald, so like I said, those two have been attached at the hip, it feels like. And right there, look how shallow Austin had to enter that turn because Donald got to his outside. And I think that's going to be what Donald needed because he's going to be able to use the momentum. As long as he can keep the power down, use that momentum. Oh, big slide there for Eric off of 2. Saves of the good hands there. And right now, Donald does have just a nose ahead. Again, he can, that wide angle, it's hard to tell. And now you can see he's got the nose ahead entering 3. Again, though, he's going to still continue to have that fight with the 64. But these guys have been going at it really hard here, and that's the good racing you expect to have at Auto Club. And I think he just is finally able to make that pass happen. Yeah, he does clear now, gets in front of him. So move Donald now up into that 7th position, but he's got about almost 2.3 seconds to get to the next car of Gabe Butler, who's kind of been in his own little bubble for a good chunk of this race there.
Bubble?
How what?
Yeah, Austin Call had a little bit of a bobble there.
Oh.
He lost one more position, but I think he's going to be able to get it back. But yeah, very interesting lines right there. Where Austin's, he kind of got not necessarily pinched, but he didn't want to be right behind Donald Sadusky over there.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is you still want to kind of keep that arrow in the right spot. And here you go, Bud Steele's going to be the first to hit pit road, coming at lap number 28 for that number 10 car. So again, it's in the window to that's kind of the short pit. Maybe he can jump ahead of those guys that were in front of him there on track. But the other thing I've been watching is lap times, and I think Kevin Freeze, he's starting to burn his stuff off just a little bit. He might be one I would expect to potentially see in this time. We'll see if he comes in this time or not, because you can see that car is just so loose. And yeah, he's going to go out stay out one more lap. But I think probably sooner than later, I think we'll see that 25 hit pit road, because you can see Ryan Kelly, he is just continuing to gain ground on him. Last time by was about 2/10 of a second quicker. As Eric Laurie now, he's also going to jump onto pit road. Bud Steele's already down and away. So we'll have to see how the short pit strategy works for that 10 along with the 071, because they are going to jump these guys by at least a lap or so. But while they've been doing that, though, I'll say somewhere off in the distance, Sebastian Marin, he has been really consistent in his lap times. He's still running 41.6s, whereas the other guys, pretty much everybody else has fallen into the 42s. And yeah, this is what I expect to see Kevin to come in here at lap 30. And Sebastian has some time to react to this. He had about a 5-second gap before that pit stop. So, and it looks like we're going to actually watch Sebastian here, because it looks like to me, Chris, he might be trying to run the top side here. Maybe once the tires wear, maybe there's some momentum up on that outside line. Did you mention Carl Henderson also now on pit road?
Yeah, very. I'd rather, like I said, I'd rather be up top and run that as long as possible and save as much tire wear as possible, because you're not necessarily thinking about the fastest lap that you can run each lap. You're thinking about what can I do to have the greatest gap and gain over the course of my fuel or tire stint. So we've seen some guys already come in. I'm not too sure when the end of the pit cycle is. All depending on who somebody like Sebastian Marin, how long he wants to go. So with this, he might have actually been backing down the corners now that nobody's directly behind him.
Yeah, that's exactly it too. Is if you're not just like sending in, stomping on the brake, if you're just kind of letting the car rotate on its own and just rolling off the throttle, and as you can see, Kevin just merging back on track, so pretty much about a lap loss or so it looks like for pit road. As we see, he's kind of right about where he was when he came in, just one lap behind Ryan Kelly. But yeah, right now Sebastian continues to run here. He's going to take lap 32 here. Do need to mention Josh Laston came in that next lap after Carl Henderson did. James Ledford also on pit road in that 84. But right now the other front runners continue to stay out as we run. So right now, I believe the top 5 have yet to pit. 6 on back, I believe, have made their first pit stop. Again, I believe it will be a 2 pit stop race should we go green. But right now we're kind of keeping an eye and see when do we see that number 23 hop on the pit road. Kevin hasn't got his full up to speed lap yet to see what kind of lap times he's pulling, but I think we're about to see Sebastian duck in. Yep, here he comes. He's going to hit pit road, come to 33, so he's going to get woed down for that pit speed limit. Looks like Ryan Kelly's going to go one more here, get those 5 bonus points. Those are crucial. You always want to get any bonus point you can, so I would expect to see Ryan get that bonus point now and then potentially jump into pit road as well, so keep an eye on him. And then Austin Call, he's starting to creep his way up there. He's now found Gabe Butler here. So, again, they have yet to pit, but he has closed that gap from that 2 or so seconds we talked about. So, good job by Austin as well on that long-run strategy here. So, Chris, I'm going to jump over to Kevin Freeze because I want to see where he cycles out in relation to Sebastian, as Sebastian still sits in pit road here. Kevin's coming through 3 and 4 now. I don't think it's going to be enough of a short pit for him to jump that 23 car, but it will definitely bring him much closer.
Yeah, look at that right now. Sebastian is now on the apron, but he might be able to overtake him by the time they get on the backstretch here.
And I mean, last time by Kevin just put the fastest lap of the race down to 40.09. So he's definitely trying to get there. But I think Sebastian's going to have the speed built up enough in time here. As you can see, there's the gap here. It's close. It was about five.
Wow, that was close.
We talked about 5 seconds, I believe it was roughly going in. It's about 1.5 seconds now with that 3-lap difference. So that's just how much of a difference it makes there. So now we're the only driver left to pit. Actually, I'm sorry, we have 4 drivers left to pit. That's going to be Ryan Kelly, Austin Call, Gabe Butler, and Donald Sadusky. And they've actually gone further than I thought they could. I was hearing about 33 laps or so, but I think these guys are looking at the numbers, said, you know what, I want to stretch this thing, see how far we can take it. I can tell you Gabe Butler is on pit road now, as is Donald Sadusky, so that brings 2 of them in, 2 more yet to pit for their first stop with Austin Call and Ryan Kelly. And we'll see how this goes. I mean, obviously they're losing time now, but again, after the cycle, they're going to have the best tires on track by a fair margin. So there's that kind of that double-edged sword. If they can keep the long-run pace, pitting late may not be a bad thing. And I think Ryan is coming in. Yeah, here he comes. He's going to pull off on the pit road here, coming to lap number 36 here. Ryan Kelly brings the pit road. Looks like slowed down just in time there. We'll keep an eye on Austin now to see if Austin's... Yeah, here comes Austin Call as well. So that's going to complete our cycle here, Chris, with Ryan and Austin hitting pit road. And obviously, Ryan's going to lose a little bit of track position, though, going even a few laps later than Sebastian as well.
Yeah, it was very interesting to see. You know, Sebastian came in about 3 laps later than Kevin, and Kevin still wasn't able to make up that difference right there. So I think Sebastian's gonna be able to stretch this out from a 5-second lead the previous stint to possibly 8 to 10. So that's just going to get that gap a little bit better. So I'm not sure if there's going to be a little bit of a different strategy that Kevin's going to try to do on the next time out. But looking at the guys in the back, they stretched it out pretty far. I think what was the latest car pit on lap 35? So lap 36. There's varying different pit strategies there. So that's almost a good 7-6 different laps that people can come in. So it's just based on how hard everyone is. As I see the 73 up in the wall.
Oh, yeah, you see definitely off pace there after the contact. Looks like still going, but yeah, unfortunately for Richard there. The right front looks all right, so I don't think he got it as bad as he did earlier. But also have to remember, he pitted on lap 13, so his tires are already in pretty tough shape at this point in the run. They're kind of at that same point where they start to fall off. So, and the other thing to mention is, remember we talked about Bud Steele making that short pit strategy around lap 27. Well, he has cycled all the way up into that 6th position now because he got around all of that craziness. And he's in this nice little pocket now. He's got the 84 of James Ledford about 2.5, 3 seconds behind him there in 7th. And then he's got a little ways to go to Josh Lassen up ahead of him, about a straightaway or so. But we talked about that could be a good strategy for Bud, and I think that was a perfect strategy for him because now he doesn't have to worry about fighting everybody because we'll jump back a little bit. And here's Gabe and Austin. They're starting to fight each other for that 9th and 10th position. Donald Sadusky's not too far behind them in that 19. Eric Lorry's right there in front of him as well. So he's able to just run that clean air here. And then also we talked about the short pit strategy. Carl Henderson pitted 1 lap before Josh Lassen. Josh Lassen was ahead of him at the time. Carl is now ahead of Josh after the pit stop cycles. Again, here's the much fresher tires going by Ryan Kelly. That's kind of to be expected on that one, about 6 lap fresher tires for that 13 car. But yeah, so even just the 1 lap difference here, Chris, between Carl and Josh, that got Carl the spot back from that 09.
Yeah, definitely amazing. You kind of try to put in theory what type of strategy you want to have, and you have to honestly kind of have that X factor of where I'm going to be at in the race and how do I feel about my car at X dimension of the race there. So if you're up front and your car's feeling good, you kind of want to stay out as long as possible because there's no real reason unless someone's chasing you down. So when you're up front, you kind of want to be in control as much as possible with all the options that you have. But if you're in the back, there's honestly no reason why you can't just gamble away and see what happens. The worst thing that could happen is a caution kind of messes up your strategy.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's if and when yellows happen, that's going to be when a lot of things change. And I can tell you, Richard Bernius is on pit road. I think that may have been it for him, unfortunately. So that's going to leave, I believe, 11 still on track. And I can confirm also Ryan Kelly has by far been the quickest car on track the last handful of laps, about a half a second a lap quicker than Sebastian and Ryan. So we'll do is let's run through the field here real quick while we've got the pit stop cycle completed. So starting from pole, Sebastian Marin continues to lead here from the front. I say he was able to hold on to lead after that pit stop cycle, even with Kevin doing that short pit by a few laps before him. Kevin Freeze started third, is up into that second position. I say he did try that undercut, almost worked out. We'll see maybe now with those temperatures starting to drop a little bit, maybe that'll start to suit the 25 a little bit more to help with that gap. But again, he's just got a slight disadvantage on tires compared to that 23, and you can still see loose off of turn 2 there on the exit. Ryan Kelly, he was one of the latest drivers to pit, so he went all the way to lap 35 compared to 32 and 29. So right now he is about a half a second quicker a lap, but right now is about 10 seconds off the lead as they run, which let's update the timing and scoring to the gaps. You can see right there. Then you got the battle here between the teammates here, Carl Henderson, Josh Lassen. Carl started fourth, running in fourth, and same thing goes for Josh, started fifth, running in fifth. And now, I think that maybe that one lap pressure tire is starting to kick in for that 09. They're going to continue their battle here. And I don't see this changing until the end of this race. These two are pretty much locked onto each other. And then we drop back a little ways to Bud Steele, sitting in sixth position and is also 6 positions gained right now. That puts Bud as our highest climber. And commentators curse as soon as I talked about him. He catches the wall on entry of 1 a little bit, but looks like no harm, no foul there. I think that car is going to keep on going. That Bellhaven Brewery, going to continue on here. And then James Ledford right behind him there in the 84 machine, sitting in 7th, +3 from where he started. Then we drop back to Gabe Butler on fresh tires than these guys ahead, so I expect to see him start to close the gap a little bit in that 88. Started 8th, currently 8th in the 88. Austin Call in the 9th position, I believe, recently got by Eric Laurie there. Austin also went long there, pitting at lap number 35. So he is started 9th, also still running in 9th, so right where he started as well. And then rounding out our top 10, we got Eric Laurie here. He is +1 from where he started. Again, he's short pitted as well there, Chris, at lap 28. Running in the 10th spot. And then just last car outside the top 10 right now is Donald Sadusky in the 11th spot in the 19 car. He did pit late, though. He pitted at lap 34, so his tires, again, will be fresher than Eric's ahead of him, so I would expect to see that gap start to close as well. So right now that is the drivers on track. And right now the closest battle on track, and saying it switched while we were watching it, was between Carl and Josh has gotten that spot back. But it looks like they were going back and forth for a handful of laps there based on us. I'm looking at my notes here, and I see Josh passed Carl, Carl passed Josh passed Carl again. They went back and forth. It looks like about 8 times there. So they were fighting for that spot, but it looks like Josh has now prevailed.
Yeah, that was interesting while you're doing the rundown. I noticed about 4 or 5 different drivers. They were fighting for every single inch of the track, where they were getting into the wall during the straight right before they started to arc the car in. And some people got really loose, and some people did hit the wall, unfortunately. And it was just really interesting to see these guys. I think the track has changed just a little bit to where these guys are having to fight for every little piece of the track right now.
And that's also another thing too, Chris, that we haven't mentioned is these cars are not symmetrical. The nickname for these cars was the Twisted Sister, because if you can ever get a front-on shot from them, so I'm trying to see if I can get a good angle, but basically the back ends of these cars kick out a lot more than the right front, and so when you squeeze that outside wall, it's very easy to get that right rear kind of sucked up into the wall, and then it just pulls the rest of the car along for the ride. I've definitely been guilty of that myself. Number of times we saw there James Ledford grabbing a spot from Bud here. Again, that's the 3-lap difference of tires between the 84 and the 10. I'm still calling this a net gain though for Bud with his strategy there. But yeah, these cars just are definitely not symmetrical, to put it lightly. And I think that might be playing a role in these things as well, because with the next gens and the Xfinities, it's a slightly different animal with how those cars are kind of laid out on track.
Yeah, I kind of noticed there for a little bit that when these guys are trying to chase each other down, they're trying to be a little bit offset as they were coming into the entry corner. So the guy in front, he beat in possibly the last lane up top, and the guy behind him would try to be even closer to the wall than that. So I think that's where a lot of these guys are starting to kind of get sucked into the wall with the body structure. A lot of these guys do run either the truck series or the Xfinity series, and you don't necessarily have that problem when running tracks like Auto Club or even Talladega, Daytona, or Atlanta here. So very interesting to see. I think these guys had to kind of change their strategy up when it came to following these cars. But ever so more. I know we keep harping on it, but man, the Josh Laston and Carl Henderson battle, that's going to keep me hooked and glued to my seat. I think the rest of tonight.
Yeah, no, it's been a really good fight between those two because, like we said, I mean, Josh got by him, but he hasn't been able to run away from him. Carl's just kind of keeping him honest right now, just staying right in his tire tracks. And I'd say that just, I think, makes Josh have to kind of just every so often just watch his mirror a little bit more, a little bit more. As you can see, yeah, these guys are even getting loose down the straights now. You can see that kind of how they're wiggling around a little bit because we are on 42 to go here, Chris. So we're getting down to it. We're lap 49 of 90. We already crossed the halfway point in this one. So they're about 10, 12 more laps away from really being in the window for that final pit stop once we hit. Like I said, I think 30 to go is probably the magic number when we'll see most hit pit road. But again, though, I think we might start to see some drivers, again, try to pull that undercut a little bit, or the opposite. Maybe we see Ryan Kelly, again, try to pull the overcut. However, I can tell you the lap times have started to kind of equalize between Ryan and Sebastian. It's a 41:20 last time by for Ryan, 41:27 for Sebastian. Despite the despite the 3 lap difference in tires. However, last time by he was 0.3 of a second quicker than Kevin Freeze, who again pitted at lap 29. So that's a 6 lap difference between the 25 and the 13. So right now, like I said, Sebastian, he's got the pace, but he's got the tire wear going. So we haven't done it in a while. We're gonna make him kind of, since he's doing so well here, I feel like he's gonna probably get bored. So we're gonna do an in-race report from our race leader here. Wait till he gets out of turn number 4. And then we'll pull in our race leader, Sebastian Marin, because I feel like you have it a little bit too easy here, Seabass. Let's say the lap times you are running are like just the perfect definition of consistent. Is it just managing your stuff? Are you able to are you having to move around at all on track to kind of find where the car likes to be as the tires wear and the fuel wears? I mean, what's the magic you got going here so far tonight?
Yeah, definitely consistency has been very good tonight. I was experimenting with some different steering ratios with this car because that's what I always struggled with this thing was consistency. I always had the raw pace, but I would always fall off by the ends of the run. So tried something different. Seems to be working for consistency wise. As the tire wear comes on, not really. I mainly just have 2 different lines, obviously right by the bottom for 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then the high lane in 1 and 2 works really good. But you kind of want to leave that by the end of the run once you start pushing. You don't want to be up there the whole run or you will junk your tires. So yeah, definitely managing. I'm definitely stopped managing. I'm definitely pulled the pin, so I'm just going now. I've saved enough of my tires, and I'm just pushing till I need to stop again.
Yeah, I'd say because the window's coming up pretty soon. Obviously, Kevin short pitted by about 3 laps over you. Got close, but couldn't quite leapfrog you over there. So, I mean, is that kind of what you're expecting to see again this time around? You think he might try to undercut you again a little bit? Or do you feel like you have the gap now? It looks like about 6 seconds for you to be able to kind of play it safe and go those extra couple laps just to give you that margin.
I feel like I definitely have the margin to play it safe and go a few laps more if I want to. Besides, I think Kevin's race right now is with Ryan. So I think that'll determine when Kevin pits instead of me, because Ryan has quite a few lap fresher tires than Kevin by this point, and he is running them down at quite a fast pace. So I think he would like to pit before Ryan gets by him, because right now the tire differential is just too big for Kevin to do anything once Ryan gets there.
Yeah, so you're doing a great job, like I said, managing your tires. I mean, last time by, you were actually 2/10 quicker than Ryan, and I said we talked earlier that Ryan's Mr. Long Run. So, so you've definitely found something. It's always a bad thing when fast people find ways to be even faster or more consistent. So, it sounds like we might be in trouble here the rest of the way out tonight and the rest of the season. So, we'll get you back with your team there, Sebastian. But appreciate you bugging us while we could get you on track here. So, good luck the rest of the way, though, man.
Yep, thank you.
All right, can't make it look too easy. Got to give a little bit of trouble. Save. Unfortunately, if we could pull Larry Yingling in, I'd be all for that, Chris. I think he's actually kind of crew chiefing for Ryan Kelly as well tonight. Larry's he's always one where it's like, yeah, just if you want to pull me up. Yeah, I think it was a Bristol race. I want to say he said, yeah, I can pull you up if you want to. So,
oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, Larry is 1 in a million. He's a really good guy, and I'm glad to even in just helping out with Ryan Kelly, just to have him involved with Area 51 is still really good to have. But what I'm looking at here, though, is I'm starting to jump around a little bit because you've got a nice little group here now. You've got James Ledford ahead of Gabe Butler, Bud Steele's right there, Austin Call's right there. These guys are all within about 2 seconds of each other from 6th to the 9th position. And then Kevin Freeze, we're just talking about that. Ryan Kelly has broken the 1 second gap between the two of them. So we're at 35 to go. So I don't think Kevin can come in yet. He could go to about 33 to go. I think he could feel pretty safe to make it to the end from there. That way he's not short pitting too much. But I am curious to see, though, if and when that happens, what does Ryan Kelly do in response? So we'll have to see if they, like I said, if the fight becomes between the two of them. Because, yeah, you talked about that number about being about 10 seconds possibly, Chris, and you're pretty much spot on there. We're at 8.4 seconds right now, and it's still growing, obviously. So it might be about 10 seconds once that pit stop window opens. So, yeah, you had the number right on the head there.
Yeah, just a little bit of math in there, but I was pretty much just throwing something at the wall and seeing if it stuck. But yeah, pretty amazing to see that that gap is what it is. As we see Bud Steele come into pit, and I think this is really where the pit window opened up last time, where these guys are coming in around 30, 31, and if we look at anything on the clock, we got another 3-4 laps before I think everyone cycles out again. So we're starting to have some pits as we see Austin Call, Gabe Butler, and James Leffler, they're all still within each other. They're within a screenshot right now on my monitor right now. So yeah, these guys are they're still close together, and I know that they're all still getting draft help. So pretty interesting to see. I don't know which one of these guys are going to blink first and try to go into the pit.
Yeah, and that's the question. Do they react to Bud Steele or not? The other thing I'm watching is right now that battle for second. Ryan has got there, and this is interesting because Ryan's on the inside of Kevin. So Kevin, unless he backs off here, he's got to continue to fight that 13 car and won't be able to duck onto pit road. So, yeah, so that's going to be actually 1 lap longer here that Kevin Freeze is going to stay out. I would presume, just based on kind of when we talked to Sebastian and everything, I think what we'll see here is if Kevin can't get back underneath that 13 car and fight for that spot, I would expect to see that number 25 on pit road this time. As I say that, actually, we have a little switch here. Josh Laston is actually going to short pit this time in the 09. He's going to see if he can kind of do the undercut like Carl Henderson did the previous time. So those two, that battle continues. Where this time the 09 jumps in a lap earlier than the 28 here. I wonder if they maybe just try to catch him off guard. Like I said, their own little battle. And watching Kevin, and no, he's going to continue to run another lap here. So he's going to go a little longer here. Maybe feels like the fall-off was just too much of a difference between himself and Ryan Kelly. So Kevin's going to go a little further because next time by will be 30 to go here, Chris. So far, the pit stops that have occurred are with Bud Steele. Josh Laston has also come in. And right now, those are the two that have made their pit stops thus far for their scheduled final stop. And then, yeah, like you said, though, I mean, you've got James Ledford right here. You got Austin Calls right there, Gabe Butler all right together. And as I say that, actually, here comes James Ledford. Now he's going to try to hit pit road, maybe try to catch these guys a little bit off guard for his final scheduled stop. So, yeah, so right now these guys are kind of sticking. Actually, I think Ryan's – nope, okay. I say he was really low. It's like, oh, Ryan's going to pit, but he continues on his way. So, right now James being the third of the drivers to make their final stop here, or scheduled final stop, I should say. However, for me, Chris, I'm surprised that Carl did not react to Josh. He decided, you know what, I'm going to go even longer here. I thought he would come in that next time around, but maybe he's thinking those fresh tires later in the run are going to pay dividends.
Yeah, and that's definitely kind of just betting on yourself and betting on the control and capabilities of your car. And I mean, like obviously, the longer you go, the easier the race is going to be for you, to where you can kind of dictate, what pressure you want to apply to people, especially if you can save your tires. And with the gap right now between Ryan Kelly and Kevin Freeze, I'm surprised Kevin hasn't come in yet. So as I say that,
Here it comes.
I guess commentator's curse right there. So Kevin Freeze is in, Ryan Kelly's still staying out, and I think Ryan Kelly's going to probably try to run a faster line around this track right before he decides to come in, because that gap will close within two laps, and I think the opposites will switch here.
Yeah, and I like Kevin go. I mean, because this is coming to 29 to go when he pits, so he actually ran that middle stint a lot longer. So I think this is actually pretty good for Kevin. I think this will put him on pretty equal footing to Ryan, and also Carl is also in as well to make his final schedule stop. I think I just saw Eric Laurie backing it down. Yeah, here comes Eric in as well. So yeah, so it's starting to kick off, and there goes immediate response from Ryan Kelly. He's going to duck on the pit road. He is locking it down there. He hustled it in there, so he's going to hit pit road as well for his final scheduled stop. And that's again going to start to leave those guys that ran long the previous time. We talked about Gabe and Austin and Donald. They're doing the same thing once more here, running a little long. So that's going to leave Sebastian Marin. Again, he's got a few laps he can play with here. He doesn't have to jump right away. He could wait maybe 2, 3, 4 laps and still be able to hold on to that lead. So I think that's what we'll see. I mean, there's no sense taking any unnecessary risk because, I mean, you look at the ticker on the left here, Chris. I mean, he's got just about the field a lap down here. So if there was by chance a yellow, he'd be in a golden spot there because he could pit. Everybody else had to take wave rounds. He'd have fresher tires. I mean, he'd be in a really good spot. As you see, James Leffler going to get his lap back right now. Again, he had just made his pit stop.
Yeah, a little bit of a Max Verstappen type of night right now, where no one's really touching him. But looking at Ryan Kelly right now, he's coming off the apron right now as he's on the backstretch, and we'll see right now how close this is as Donaldson Dusky goes right by, and then Kevin Freeze is right behind him. Kevin Freeze might have the momentum just because he had his own freshest tires, and Ryan Kelly is going to be at the bottom trying to pass Sandusky. But man, just looking at the gap right now, we might have a battle on our hands coming to the end of this race.
Yeah, it's going to be close. And again, now we're going to be pretty equal tires, just one lap apart between the two of them. So what Kevin needs to do now is try to manage that right. I think especially the right rear. I feel like I've seen that right rear kick out a lot out of that 25 car, out of turn 2 and out of turn 4. So I think he just needs to try to keep that tire in check. Because again, we talked about Ryan Kelly kind of being Mr. Long Run, I feel like, in that number 13 machine. So I think for Kevin here, stay within reach, but then keep those tires in a better spot. That way, then you can still have a chance to fight him at the end of it. So we'll see. But up front, though, Sebastian Marin, he decided that's enough time for him. He's going to jump in. And that looked a little hot there. I don't know if it was speeding, but he definitely wasn't cutting himself any benefit of a doubt there. He went for it all there on entry. Donald Sadusky is also in, which leaves, I believe, just Austin Call now to make his final green flag pit stop. So you see the 19 there in the background. As a wait for the 23 here, he's going to hit his pit marks, and this should, again, scheduled, should be his final stop. We'll see if a yellow comes out or not. That'll change everything, but right now Sebastian's going to try to get service. As here comes Austin Call. He should net the lead of this race here as he comes by here around the 23 as he's still in pit road. So yeah, so move Austin out to the point as Sebastian just now rolls out of pit road.
Yeah, amazing pit calls by some of these guys right now, and definitely, some people. I don't think anyone's really made a bad pit call. It's just how you get into the corner, or not into the corner, but like how you get into the pit stall. And these guys are still so close. I mean, we see guys like Ryan Kelly and Kevin Freeze still together. We see, Josh Ashton, Carl Henderson. These guys are still together. It seems like no one could really get away from each other after about 5 laps into this race. I think everyone was kind of set in their place right now. As somebody like Sebastian Marin, he's just kind of walking his own pace and just walking off into the sunset. But everyone else right now, they really have been battling from start to finish here.
Yeah, and the one thing to mention, too, is right now that gap between Ryan and Kevin, it's about 0.7 of a second, but I'm looking at the pit lane time, or the pit stop time and pit lane time, and that's where the difference is right now, Chris, because pit lane time for Kevin Freeze is a 50.23. Pit lane time for Ryan Kelly was 49.40, so 0.8 of a second faster for Ryan, and right now Ryan is up by 0.7 of a second, so that was the difference right there, getting on and off of pit road. Also, the pit stop time was quicker as well. For the pit stop was a 15 flat to a 14:33. So yeah, so maybe just hitting his marks a little bit better. But you saw right there, though, Ryan had a little bobble there off of 4. So I mean, again, Kevin's going to try to keep him honest here. As I'm jumping back a little bit, because right now you got a battle here, 3-car battle right now. Actually, Austin has yet to pit still, so he's on older tires. But you got Gabe right there and James here fighting for 8th and 9th respectively. Right now for that position. Again, they have both made their final scheduled stops. So right now Austin's the last one to pit. And again, Austin's saying, yeah, man, if you guys could have a yellow somewhere here, I would love that, because then he'd be able to cycle in as the leader and have the freshest tires for the last stint of this race here. So that's what Austin's banking on. He's going for an alternate strategy, which I've been there myself. I've done that many a time. It's just tough though when you got the smaller fields like tonight here. It's a lot of times these guys will be kind of just minding their P's and Q's, and I feel like that's kind of what we have right now. But I'm going to jump back here because last time by, Kevin was a 10th quicker than Ryan, and I saw that gap switch down to about just under half a second. So like I said, Kevin's trying to keep that pressure on that number 13. It's just, again, I mean, we still got 22 to go here, so he's still got a ways to go before we come to the pay window, if you will.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't bite me in the rear end, but we talked about these guys. Some people might want to caution right now, but giving the credit to these guys in the series and all the series here on the Area 51, that as aggressive and as fun as these guys drive, it's very rare that we get a accident that happens out of pure coincidence, or just lack there of talent. So a lot of times these things just kind of happen coming together, but these guys very rarely have a 2 to 3 caution race. A lot of times it might happen once, it might happen very early on in the race, and you almost forget that there even was a yellow or even pace laps in these races. And right now, fortunately, we haven't had that anything go on right now. But I definitely love watching these guys and the ability to run as close as possible and as aggressive as possible, and still make themselves a green flag race for the majority of the race.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Is they can still race hard, but yeah, like I said, they wind up usually keeping it clean. Which, like I said, in general, that's a really good thing. That's what you want to have when you're Austin Call. When you're going for an alternate strategy, there, you're saying, "Come on, guys, someone mess up, like just hit your mark wrong, drive into somebody just a little bit too deep, just little mistakes here." That's what Austin was hoping for there, but did not get it as he makes his scheduled final stop here. But yeah, Kevin and Ryan, though, this is a good battle, and I'm still also watching the timing and scoring between Josh and Carl. As, man, Kevin is there now, Chris. He is right there, just under 0.2 of a second. And again, I think he's just trying to keep that pressure on the 13, see if he can force Ryan into a mistake. But mentioning Josh and Carl, it's down to about 2.5 seconds or so. It's kind of been ebbing and flowing, but again, Carl has 3-lap fresher tires than that 09, so I'm going to keep an eye on those two as well to see who is able to maybe prevail at the end. And as you see, here comes the 64. He's going to roll out. This is going to be interesting because he's going to have the fresher tires. They're going to have some momentum entering 3, but this could actually hold up the 13 just a little bit to help Kevin here, because I expect to see that 64 here pretty much come out of the, once he gets kind of temps up and everything like that, he's going to probably start to set sail, which could give that 13 a little bit of dirty air, which you never want to have.
Yeah, and Ryan Kelly probably caught Austin Call at the right moment right now to where he can keep that draft. There's going to be dirty air, but he can keep that draft and kind of keep the gap right now from the 25. And, he could use him as a pick if things get dire.
Yeah, it just depends on the pace of that 64. And right now, as you can see, Austin, he's kind of run away because it's almost, I think, an 8 to 9 lap difference of tires between the 64 and the 13. As well as the 25 there. So I think they're good. I'm going to jump back a little bit to around 7th, though, because you got Gabe Butler and Bud Steele. I'm used to these guys going side by side for the wins on the Super Speedway series, but they're having a good little fight here for that 6th spot between the two of them. And again, Gabe is on fresher tires than that 10 car, but look at Bud. He is hustling that top side and trying to make the momentum go, and you can see Gabe just able to clear him here. But I think those two have been also kind of going back and forth the last couple of laps. Gabe now going to hold on to that spot entering 3. And I think Gabe now has what he needs to hold on to that position because, again, he pitted 6 laps later than Bud. But I still think, though, I mean, and it shows on the positions gained, I think that strategy was the right call for Bud because he is right now 5 positions gained. The next best is only 2 positions. That's Gabe Butler and James Ledford for those two that have had those 2 spots gained. So I think that's the right call for him. Oh, just because he's definitely been flirting with that outside wall all race long here. But he has been giving it everything he has. You see Sebastian starting to creep in the picture right behind him in that 23. And then right now, still keep an eye on Carl and Josh here. And it's 1.8 seconds now, Chris. That gap is starting to continue to shrink here. So it's going to be fun here at the closing stages because we still got about 15 to go at the line once Sebastian goes around to grab that 15 to go here. And then it's now settled into about a half a second between Ryan and Kevin here. So there's a couple of battles here on track that are going to definitely be ones to watch to see kind of the podium spots and the inner team battles, and of course those battles just inside the top 10. I'm watching James Ledford now. He's starting, I think, to creep in on Bud Steele as well. I think Bud's tires just starting to give up a little bit.
Yeah, it's some of these fights are starting to kind of wane right now. You're seeing who had the endurance and who's probably going to get the margin of victory right now, as Ryan Kelly was able to gap Kevin Freeze just a little bit again, but Kevin keeps coming back. I'm not too sure who's really going to come down, who's going to win this one when it comes down to the line, but we're seeing some gaps in the other fights that we have right now, but a lot of these guys are still keeping their car clean, even though they're scraping up the right side of it. We don't really want to look at that side on that side. We don't even care about the left side. That's what our cameras are doing, they're in the infield. So these guys, I would say they're keeping their cars clean. No one's really kind of, pancaked the wall yet. It's just been a lot of scrapes.
And I'd say the one to watch actually right now is Austin Call. Remember, he went really long that run. He's got 11 lap fresher tires than James Ledford, 14 laps fresher than Bud Steele. And
let's look at this pass.
He is about a second and a half quicker than these guys. And yeah, there he goes. He gets by Bud right off the bat. He's going to try to get a 2 for 1 here out of turn 4. So yeah, Austin Call, I think he's going to get himself back up to 6th position, I have a feeling, because Gabe is next, about only 2.5 seconds up. So I think Austin going long here has really paid off for him, because right now everybody else is in the 41, 42 second bracket. He is in the 40.5s right now, and he is just making time right now.
Yeah, he's probably going to catch Gabe Butler in a couple of laps or so, as Gabe just got passed by Sebastian Marin, and Gabe definitely had to get out the way for that one. But yeah, this is going to be a very interesting rundown that I see Austin Call getting ready to make, and we're going to see right now like how fast that is. If you're looking at the speedway difference, as we saw Austin Call pass 2 cars, essentially on one straight. That's how fast the tires are right now for someone that stayed out this late.
Yeah, I'm pulling up right now the last lap around, and yeah, you can see it right there. Austin Call 40.44, fastest car on track by about half a second over everybody else in the field, if not more. He was over a second quicker than Gabe, over a second quicker than James and Bud behind him. So yeah, I think this is definitely the right call for that number 64 machine, was to go ahead and go long. We talked about short pitting. We talked about kind of the undercut, overcut. Austin went for the overcut, going longer. And yeah, it's working right now because everybody else is all focused on each other. He just kind of ran his own pace there at that middle stint, and it's really kicking off for him. So I like that strategy for Austin. He held his nerve. He said, you know what, I'm going to go along if I get a yellow, great. If I don't, here you go. I'm just going to storm through the field here. As you can see, I mean, he just gained about 0.4 of a second just through turns 1 and 2 alone there on Gabe, and he's going to get this pass completed here through 3 and 4.
Yeah, I want to see how much Gabe really fights this. I don't think he's going to fight this as much. I don't even think he really has a choice to fight it. As he goes high and Austin Call goes low, Austin Call will probably just have a nice entry and exit right here as he comes close to the wall. And I think right now Gabe's just going to try to make sure he doesn't get passed by James Ledford and Bud Steele, who are still also closing down on him.
I think that's exactly it as well. As there's no point fighting that because, again, it's an 8-lap difference in tires. So save your stuff, that way you have more to fight with for those guys behind you. So I definitely agree with you there. I think it's the right call. You also see Sebastian, he talked about he moves up as the tires start to wear. He's done that. He's moved up to the top. And then also Ryan Kelly, he's gotten away from Kevin Freeze. It's about 2.5 seconds between the 25 and the 13 ahead. But you know which gap has closed? Carl Henderson, Josh Lassen, half a second right now between the two of these guys.
Those guys could just not get away from each other, and I love every single second of it.
No, and that's exactly it. Like I said, if I was racing tonight, I'd probably be hanging out with them in Discord, and I'm sure they're going back and forth, chatting with each other, saying like, "Ah, you don't have a chance to get by me," and there's all that kind of that smack talk in good jest with one another. So this is going to be a good fight here for this 4th and 5th position. So like I said, Josh short pitted Carl the second time by. Carl did a short pit the first time around, so they kind of reversed roles, and Carl actually went 3 laps longer than Josh. And again, watching lap times here, Carl pretty much consistently is about 0.3 of a second quicker here, as he's pretty much there now as he gets into turns 1 and 2. And we're down to 8 to go, though, Chris. But again, I think that's plenty of time. He just needs to kind of pick his marks and try to set them up. And so, like I said, I know you talked about Gabe not really fighting Austin earlier. Josh and Carl, yeah, there'll be some tough racing here to try to hold on to that 4th spot.
Oh yeah, different school of thought on right there on that one. So I can't wait to see what these guys do when they get to a different car in the next season. I think these guys are always fighting, and it's always fun to watch them throughout the years, throughout the seasons. Really, kind of just always sticking together, always fighting around each other, and even when it comes to some of the wrecks that they have, it seems like they're always in tandem together too. So very fun to watch these guys week in and week out.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I say, big slide off of 2 there for Josh. He hangs on to it, but that's going to be all Carl needs to get the momentum to grab that position. So that's going to be a tough one for Josh, because he was going to want to make Carl have to earn it a lot more difficultly. However, of course, there's still a chance that that Josh can try to charge back after him. But I have a feeling that big slide is just going to make that right rear tire all the more angry and all the more difficult to try to get back after with. So that little bobble right there, Chris, may have been the difference between 4th and 5th for Josh here.
Yeah, definitely. And if these guys are talking to each other, I'm sure they're cracking jokes at each other right now, just trying to make the other one break. And that's probably what happened. Josh Laston probably got a funny little joke, chuckled a little too much, and just kept his hand on the left hand side and just pulled his car to the side. So these guys are still racing close, and I think they're still probably jawing at each other.
And this is what Josh's best attempt is going to be, is to stay close to Carl, keep Carl looking in his mirror. That way he might start to push that throttle down just a little bit extra, like he did right there off of 4. Just you could see that little extra slide it kicked out of 4, and that's brought Josh just that ever a little bit closer. And that's what they're going to have to do is Josh just has to kind of keep in the mirror of Carl, maybe sometimes kind of duck low, duck high, make him kind of guess where he's going to go. Just add that little pressure on him here, because they're going to they have 5 more laps to do this and get this settled between them. As see again, Carl actually exits a little shallower than Josh did there, but they still stay within just a 1/4 of a second of each other, as Sebastian Marin, though, took the flag there. 5 to go here at Auto Club.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's an invisible string with these two where these guys cannot get away from each other, and I love every second of it. But we got to praise Sebastian for running the race that he has, and he's up. I think it's still 10 seconds of a gap, and very, very conscious drive right from him. He was able to talk to us while he was driving away. I'm sure he was doing that with one hand as well. Probably drinking some tea.
Having some tea, and but that's being said, though, you just saw right there, Austin Call. He's actually unlapped himself in that 64 again, going long on the tires there. Ooh, just at the edge of kissing the wall there through 1 and 2 for Sebastian. But I say we're going to keep an eye on, obviously, him. We'll jump to him at the end, but I got to keep going back to this battle here, Chris, between that 28 and then the 09, because it's still right there between the two of them. Carl's actually moved up to the top side here, but right there out of turn 4, I think Josh had a little better exit, and he's still tight on him here, as they just got their 4 to go. Sebastian's going to come around here to take 3 to go, as he's just about to cross the line now. So what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to watch Sebastian finish, and we're going to be able to jump back here and watch the fight for this 4th and 5th position. 2nd and 3rd, Ryan Kelly, Kevin Freeze. That one's, I'd say, I don't see anything changing there. I think those guys are locked into their positions pretty much without any troubles. So, yeah, right now this is by far the closest battle on track. The next closest is about 2 seconds between, I believe, Bud Steele and James Ledford. As look at Josh, he is starting to try to rim ride this thing, try to get that momentum off of turn number 4. And still about 0.3 seconds between the two of them there. Carl got, I think, a little better run through the straightaway here. But, yeah, this is going to be fun here. As next time by, it looks like Sebastian's going to bring this thing to 2 to go.
Yeah, you see Carl, trying different angles to kind of, put the dirty air in Josh Laston's front bumper right there, and it's kind of working as there's a little bit of a gap. But I think Josh Laston is probably going to try to wait till the last lap to really kind of make a move here, and I would say we might get a possible slide job.
Well, slide jobs are always enjoyable in these cars, especially like I say when it's guys I think there's definitely a good chance of having that happen. And while they've been fighting, man, I've still been watching the lap times of Austin Call, and he is just on a roll right now. However, we got to jump over to that 64. Just behind him is our race leader, Sebastian Marin. He's going to take that all-important white flag because, Chris, you never know if you're going to get an absolute last-second caution, but he takes the white, so this will be one to go for Sebastian here to take 2 wins in a row to kick off the playoffs as he just flirts with that outside wall here, just giving it everything. Now he's going to do probably a little bit of showboating here through 1 and 2, probably a little more drifting through 3 and 4 as well, with Ryan Kelly and Kevin Freese right now rounding out that top 3, as he heads into 3 here for the final time.
Yeah, definitely. A 10-second gap, just reached 11 seconds, and man, that's definitely closing the door on the rest of the field. As he closes in on Austin Call, who we said had 10-lap fresher tires, and for him to be that close, it was a great win for him as he crosses the line.
Yeah, great job by Sebastian here getting the win at Auto Club. We'll switch it back now out of turn number 4 as we pick up that 13 of Ryan Kelly. He's going to bring it home in the second position there. And then just behind them, Kevin Free is going to round out our podium finishers here tonight. And these last couple laps, while we focus on Sebastian Marin, I think Josh Lawson probably had a couple little hiccups because that gap has gone to about 0.8 of a second, unfortunately. So he's not going to be able to make the charge. It wasn't for lack of effort, but Josh is going to fall to 5th there as Carl's going to hang on to that 4th position. And then Austin Call, mentioned getting his lap back there. I mean, look at this. He was catching those guys. Give him another handful of laps, and he would have been there for a top 5. And I say Austin Call, he's going to go for a big slide himself there. He worked pretty hard there tonight. But in the end, though, it's going to be this guy here, Sebastian Marin, getting the win tonight at Auto Club.
Very great race from these guys tonight. Kept it clean, a little couple wall dings and dents right there, but very great race.
Yeah, no, these guys put on a really good one here tonight. And I say Sebastian, he's not short of abilities of doing his celebrations as well, so it'll be fun to see what he's got in store for us here tonight. Because let's say it's just the car control. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a car be able to spin around as fast as he just made it do there. And again, just goes from the experience and the abilities that guy has behind the wheel. And it's just fun to race with him too. Like I said, we love giving him a hard time, giving him grief. And he always takes it in good spirits. So, great job by him tonight. So what we'll do though, before we get to our interviews, let's go ahead and pull up our final results for tonight's event there, Chris. As you see here, Sebastian winning by just over 12 seconds over Ryan Kelly. Kevin Freese there rounding out our podium in 3rd. And then that battle we were watching, Carl Henderson, Josh Lassen in 4th and 5th. And then Austin Call rounding out our lead lap finishers in 6th. And then Gabe Butler, 7th position. James Ledford, Bud Steele, Eric Laurie rounding out our top 10. And then Donald Sadusky and Richard Bernius, the last 2 that started the race here tonight. And then, unfortunately, Bob Fitzgerald, Joseph DeCiro, they practiced, but they did not participate in the race. So that's why you see them marked as 90 laps down. And then, highest climber actually tonight is going to actually be a tie here between Austin Call, 3 positions gained, as well as Bud Steele, 3. I say top 5 actually kind of sat exactly where they qualified. So, in theory, quote unquote, no positions gained there, Chris, or changed, I should say. But obviously, a lot of stuff was happening from lap 1 to lap 90 there.
Yeah, the sun's still out. That's how fast these guys were, and this race went by fairly quickly. And the one thing I've actually personally been to this track, and the one thing I do love about this track is that the victory lane is right there on the other side of the pit, pit road there, and it's for all the fans to see, and it's great for taking shots, and everyone can do that as we see Sebastian Marin burning it up in there.
Yeah, so he's found his spot in there. But before we chat with him, we got to talk to our 3rd place finisher. And that will be the number 25 of Kevin Freese. So we're going to pull Kevin in on over. So he's got his hairless cat on his lap ready to chat about tonight's events. And Kevin, you went for the undercut there. It looked like it was going to be tight there, but Sebastian, I think 1 lap later, and you probably would have had the nose ahead of him. And I know you would have made life difficult for him there as well if you were able to sneak around him. It just looked like the right rear was kind of your enemy tonight. It just seemed like they just weren't able to kind of keep the power down without it wanting to kick out the back there.
Well, the problem was mostly the right front, actually, for the uh, end of that first run, and then the second and third. I had brushed the wall, but I thought it was not horrible, and then it just turned to a plow box. And on the third run, I just didn't take the fast repair, and I probably should have. But I mean, I didn't have anything for Sebastian on the longer runs. And Ryan was also really good on the long run as well. I thought he and Sebastian were going to battle it out really close there at the end. But then after that first pit cycle, Ryan came out pretty far back and had to make up a whole bunch of time. And I think he just ran out of time to catch him.
Yeah, Kevin, it was very strong race for you guys, and it seemed like everyone wanted to kind of be close to the wall, but no one wanted to be right on the wall. And unfortunately, with the Twisted Sister, the car kind of sucked up to a lot of people. I think a lot of people ended up getting sucked into the wall. Not necessarily due to their effort, but just because of the way that the car is shaped. And do you think that made any difference tonight about how the gap kind of changed with some of these people in front of you and behind you?
Yeah, I know. I tried to switch to running the high line when I saw Ryan was catching me on that first run, and I think I got into the wall. In addition to just going dead sideways a couple of times, I hit the wall at least once. I think twice. And the problem with the way the body shape is, it just sucks you in, and then it's really hard to pull off of it without taking the chance of dunking yourself even worse, because you then will have some throttle in and the car will just jump sideways and it's over. But it's tough with this car because you think you're good, especially it'll catch you the most by surprise on straightaways. So it's another added challenge to this car that's just a lot of fun. But yeah, it just stunk that I didn't take my fast repair. I thought I was okay, but I clearly was mistaken once I got out of the session.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, you were definitely giving it all you had. There was a lot of fun to watch you wheel it. Like I said, there was definitely some times there where you were making it exciting with that thing. But yeah, like you said, I mean, as we did everything we could. We pulled Sebastian mid race, see if we could throw him off, having a chat with him while he was racing, and so he just wasn't to be swayed tonight. And I'll say the concern is he feels like he found some consistency.
He keeps paying people, and
that's true.
Paying people to go on vacation.
I know.
I mean, we find out Austin's also going on vacation next week after passing him on the track tonight. I mean, he's just trying to get rid of everybody.
Yeah, he really. I mean, like I said, we saw right off the bat there. He sends Brian off to go overseas for a while, and then I do well last week, and then he gets Boomer to go on vacation with his wife to put me in the booth. I mean, he's ruthless, man. He'll do anything to win, but I don't think anything has to do with his really, really high I rating or anything at all. But
no, it's not skill related.
It's not at all skill.
Definitely sending everybody on vacation.
But no, I mean, you guys did a really, really good job tonight, and we kind of talked about at the beginning. We were eyeballing the three of you. It's like this will probably be the ones to watch for the overall win, and that's pretty much what it came down to. Like I said, just unfortunately, just the tires didn't cooperate with you as much to be able to first fight Ryan and then go after Sebastian. But it's always a fun though watching you guys go after it though, Kevin. So before we let you go,
oh yeah,
always got to give you the floor. Any thanks and shouts though for that third place.
Yeah, thank you to you for stepping into the booth and doing the broadcast. Chris as well for broadcasting for us. It's been a fun season so far. Congrats to Seabass on that win. Ryan was pretty strong with that second place. I wish they were closer. Maybe could have mixed it up between the two of them. And who knows? Maybe Seabass goes flying. It would have been a great thing to see, but we'll never know now. And thanks to everybody on track, because every single driver finished with a 0x tonight, and I don't remember that ever happening. So great job to everybody.
Yeah, that's really good for as challenging as it was tonight as well.
Yeah, the car jumping sideways on you, especially coming out of the pits and on the restarts, and everybody did a great job. It was pretty fun out there with everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, so we're gonna jump from our runner-up finisher here, Chris, to our third place finisher to our runner-up finisher, and that is gonna be that 13 of Ryan Kelly. And Ryan, we always talk about you being Mr. Long Run, but I mean, and you still were Mr. Long Run. It just seems like Sebastian kind of found his own long run pace there. Is that something that you were expecting to see? Because I feel like last week Las Vegas, you two were like he'd run away, but then you chase him back down over the long run. But tonight it just seemed like he was able to keep the lap times that you needed to have fall off from him. Was that something you were expecting, or were you kind of hoping? Well, I'm sure hoping, but expecting maybe like a Vegas 2.0 there.
Yeah. Sorry, they were talking to iRacing. Yeah, he was on a different planet tonight. Actually, the first half of the race, I was clutching. I was trying to make it halfway.
So for those who may not be familiar, Mr. Larry Yingling, the crew chief up top in your box there tonight, yeah, he is Mr. Fuel Save. So I wish we could pull him in and have a chat with him too, because I know he's a very social guy, loves to chat. But so that does explain a little bit how you're able to go so far in that first run then.
Yeah, we were clutching, trying to make it halfway, a couple laps short, but it definitely helped on that second run because I was, I think, 12 or 11 seconds back from freeze and was able to catch him with the fresher tires. So it paid off there. Sebastian was just on another planet. He was like 10 seconds ahead of me by the time I got to freeze. So I knew I was pretty much racing for second at that point. And then on the second pit stop there, as soon as Kevin came in, I knew since I had a lead on him to just come in the next lap to maintain that lead and have the fresher tires.
Yeah, Ryan, it was a great race from you guys, and obviously we talk about Larry Yingling. We don't see him around as much on track, but at least I don't anyway. But that man definitely has a brain up there that I cannot. I don't think I'll ever have the same skills that he does when it comes to saving and tire length and fuel stints and stuff like that. But how great of an advantage is that to have somebody like that just talking to your ear and just helping you out that way?
Yeah, it just helps me because I don't have to basically pay attention to any of that. I can just focus on trying to go as fast as I can, and I can let somebody else take care of all that. So in that sense, it's a help. But these guys are super good. So yeah, just happy to have them and ready to finish these last two races here.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is, I mean you've had an amazing start, finishing third, finishing second. So I mean obviously the progression, you think okay, well we're going for the win next week, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But it's tough though. It's like okay, yeah, these are great starts, and then you look at your competitor, it's like oh he won both races,
Yeah.
and so that makes it tough. And then let's say we're talking with Kevin, and he sends one of his competitors out off overseas. Before the playoffs start, and then he sends a broadcaster out on vacation. That way, the driver that finished second last week couldn't race. I mean, do you worry if he's going to try to do anything like maybe send Larry off on vacation or anything like that for the next two races?
I hope not, because I might run out of fuel.
All right. Well, so yeah, you might want to lock down Larry. Make sure he doesn't receive any phone calls or text or any unsolicited emails from Sebastian. But
Gotta check his bank account.
yeah, exactly. But no, all joking aside, right? I mean, as always, man, it's always a pleasure, A, racing with you, and of course, B, being able to watch you do what you do best. It's always been a lot of fun throughout the seasons of doing this. So before we let you go, though, with that runner-up tonight, definitely want to give you the floor for any thanks and shout-outs.
Yeah, just all the drivers in Area 51. I know the oval side of it will be coming to an end, and this is where I started my oval racing on iRacing. So always a pleasure to be here till the end of it. And just you guys in the booth for always putting on a good show, and everyone watching, hope they enjoyed.
Yeah, always appreciate racing with you, Ryan. So yeah, good luck the rest of the way, man, and hopefully I'll be able to join you on track here for the rest of them, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And yeah, so just to kind of clarify on that one, so after this season, we'll be kind of shaking up the schedule a little bit. So Thursday nights we'll be going back to the Super Speedway series like on Sunday nights. So basically Thursdays and Sundays, the plan is to go Super Speedway racing again. Tuesday we'll still be with the IR18 open wheel cars over there. Thursday and Sunday will be the two that are broadcasted as well, though, on Green White Checker TV. So just clarification for those that may be wondering on that one. However, we got one person left to chat with. And the only hope I think we have, Chris, is that maybe Sebastian runs out of money to send up people on all these lavish vacations and overseas trip to be able to try to dethrone him from the title. Because right now, 2 races in, 2 wins. I mean, how's the piggy bank, Sebastian? Going to be able to hold off for the remainder of the next two?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I haven't paid anybody nothing. No idea what you're talking about. Just things just been playing out according to my way. So things have been going good.
Obviously we're joking about most of the stuff there, but is it nice to just kind of not necessarily have the same guys that you're having to fight, week in and week out, and just be able to kind of just cruise to a victory like this? Obviously, I think last week it was possibly a little bit harder for you, but just the way that everything's working out right now with the racing, is it just nice to kind of just cruise by yourself? Never really get that chance myself to cruise, but I kind of want to hear it from the horse's mouth here.
I mean, yes and no, because obviously, yes, if you pull away and you kind of manage the gap and you feel like you've been dominant the whole race, it feels good, right? Gives you confidence and all that stuff. But at the same time, you kind of want to have that competition just to make it fun, or maybe push each other into a mistake, or maybe push each other to burn our tires off. Maybe if Ryan pushed or Kevin pushed me earlier in the run, I would have burned my tires off, and then we would have been on more equal pace. But they kind of we all just sat into our gaps, and we all managed our tires. And by the time we started pushing, I had already had a gap to them, and I think they were maybe trying to just over push it to either catch up, or just slight different lines here and there that over a stint will improve tire wear. So again, yeah, feels good to have a dominant win, but you also want that competition because it's better, more fun for people to watch, more fun as a driver. You may learn a thing or two just racing each other, trying different things. So yeah, that definitely has its ups and downs.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing is, I mean, it's obviously not easy by any means to win these races. I mean, we know how difficult it is through all the series, obviously. But I mean, yeah, like I said, you've been doing really well from the get go this season, and obviously not a surprise for those that have raced with you and are familiar with you, I guess you could say. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, like I said, is being able to share the tracks and everything. You get a lot of you, like I said, you learn things from other people, and at the same time too, it's not even just the camaraderie, it's the friends you make. Like I said, we're all kind of teasing and jest obviously with everything else, but like, I mean, you hanging out with Kevin and Gabe and Eric, like it's a fun way to spend time and do what you enjoy doing with the people you enjoy hanging out with. So yeah, I said, and that's what's fun too about this is, like, I know you guys, you've never been one to shy away from, like, hey, if someone comes and asks you, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and then they can try it and maybe they improve. I know I've done it to you before. We're like, oh yeah, I'm running the top line both turns and qualifying. And it's like, oh, let me try that, and sure enough, there's the momentum for it. So it's definitely, there's no secrets, I guess you could say, with you guys. I would say you always want to try to help everybody, it seems like, improve, and I think that's something that doesn't need to be understated, and make sure that people are aware that what you guys do to try to help everybody out here in the league.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm here to have fun. Have a good time. Uh, this league is just really kind of a nice, fun, relaxing league that I really enjoy, just racing, just driving a different car, just driving this thing they have to manhandle. And yeah, I help anybody if anybody has any problems, or if they want any tips. I'm here to help them. I'm not gonna keep any real secrets to myself that I don't know. I'm here to have fun. I'm not really, obviously I want to be competitive if I'm not, but more importantly, I'm here to have fun and help others to have fun and maybe get better to see if they'll enjoy it more, get a bit more satisfaction by just running better. So yeah, like you said, if anybody ever has any questions, I'm all open. I welcome anybody with open arms. To ask me anything, and yeah, just want to be that type of guy. Just like respected that people feel like they can come up to me and just talk about anything, and I'll be here and be that guy for them.
Yeah, it's always appreciated, man. So, before we let you go and start checking the flight plans and everything like that for next week, I say we definitely want to give you the floor though for any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that win here this evening.
Yeah, shout out firstly to the boot knockers. We just hang out. We do this for fun. We don't really take it super seriously. We just hang in there, have a lot of fun, just kind of relax. So thank you to Eric, Gabe, and Kevin for running together. Just nice, easy, relaxing Thursday nights. Shout out to you guys for putting on this broadcast. I was watching the interviews from Kevin and Ryan, and it's always fun to see their POVs, and the stuff that you guys say always make me laugh. So thank you guys. It's always very fun to rewatch the broadcast. And shout out to Area 51 again for putting on this league. Uh, I've been having a lot of fun this season. Again, it's a shame that it's going to end. Hopefully, maybe in the future we'll get more interest, or maybe iRacing will update the ARCA cars or slash Gen 4 cars, and it might pique some interest, and then hopefully it comes back. So definitely shout out to them, and shout out to Larry Yingling. We need him to come back and race. I did not pay him off, and if they think I did, I'm gonna tell Kevin to pay Larry to race because we need Larry on track.
I'm on board. We'll do a GoFundMe to get Larry on track for these final two races. I think we can make it
Absolutely.
happen.
I'll put in 1 cent for him to come back.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to save up after the last two, so no, I understand.
Absolutely.
But no, Sebastian, great job tonight, man. It was, like I said, it's always a pleasure watching you do what you do best, and like I said, I mean, I've definitely learned a lot from you. So as I appreciate what you've done to help me out, and yeah, I look forward to hopefully next week and the next two, I'll be able to hop on track and see if I can try to at least hang in there and make your life a little bit more difficult. But great job these first 2 weeks of the playoffs, 2 to go. So yeah, good luck the rest of the way, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a good night, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. That was a lot of fun.
You too, man.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, Chris. So that is our race winner in that number 23 of Sebastian Marin. And again, I mean, it's one of those things. He's a very, very talented racer in all forms. I mean, when we were doing the Super Speedway series here, he would run those as well, and he'd be up front running for the wins pretty much week in and week out as well there as well. So he's just a really, really talented racer, and that's all there is to it. But it's just obviously these cars, they're a bit more of a handful. Obviously a lot more throttle and wheel control and input required for these. And for me, that's what makes these things so much fun to do, is that you just have to really, each lap is something different. And whether I'm running in third or 13th, like these things, I just always have a smile on my face when I'm driving these things, just because of how you have to race them. So again, like he mentioned, for those that maybe missed the first part, Thursday nights we'll be switching over to the Super Speedway series after the season, and after the 2 weeks time we'll have a little bit of an off season, then kick back off with Super Speedways. So look to see 2 different types of Super Speedway racing on Sundays and Thursdays. So Chris, before we call it for tonight, though, definitely as always want to thank you for being able to hop on here kind of short notice. But it's always a pleasure to be able to kind of hang out with you in the booth, on the track, wherever it may be. It's always a good time and we're spending it together, man.
Yeah, definitely. I love being here, love commentating. Obviously, work kind of keeps me a little bit far away. I'm still sitting in my my military uniform right now. I just kicked the pedals off. Don't want the steel toe shoes to sit on the pedals here. But it's always great to be here. I love watching these guys run around the track. I wish I had half their skill that they do, but it's always good to be somewhere around the sim racing community. And yeah, we want Larry Yangling back. I love seeing you guys out here. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you everyone for watching, and I guess I will see you guys later.
All right, so that will do it for us here tonight on Green White Checkered TV. So again, we'll be back on Sunday night for race number 2 of the Super Speedway Xfinity Series playoffs. Jim Brooks grabbing the first win over at iRacing Super Speedway. Next week we'll be at, I believe, Daytona International Speedway, followed up by Atlanta and Talladega to finish that one off. So For all of us here at Green White Checker TV, thank you all for joining us, for supporting us here. Larry, you got to come race with us. We got 2 more to go. So again, thank you all for being a part of it. Until next time, stay safe, take care. Happy Friday Eve, and have a good night.